Yeah, so Money in the Bank 2020. Have you heard how they're gonna do this?
Explain, because I'm confused.
I've heard some stuff, but enlighten us, please.
I only heard of a building and some players.
Yeah. So currently WWE headquarters in
Connecticut.
Stanford. That if you're driving on I-95, you can see it. I guess they're gonna start on the ground floor and work their way up the staircase until they get to the roof, where there will be some ladders, and the Money in the Bank briefcase will be hanging from I don't know what, from the sky. So
God.
I'm sure they'll have some sort of crane
God.
or something.
Hanging from the strongest cloud, on that day.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So how do you guys feel about that so far?
I mean, not thrilled about it. I guess it's a wait and see. Clearly, it's going to be edited, produced, which, to be honest, they haven't really missed on that. So if it's some more of that WrestleMania magic that they took from Taker and Bray, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. As long as we don't have to deal with, I hate to do this to Lou, another Edge and Randy punch match. Like it's Street Fighter and I'm button mashing, pressing square the whole time. No, but if it's gonna be produced and edited and it feels like a movie, fuck it, something new, something different. Why not?
I mean, look, you know what? Here's the thing, right? With something like Money in the Bank, listen, it's creative. I don't know, I don't know how the execution is going to come out at the end, but I can definitely say at least it's creative. You're not doing it in the Performance Center, because then it's just like, okay, how many more shows can you produce from there? The WWE is just finding creative ways to make things work, as best they can. Do I think that on its face it's pretty silly? Yes, on its face it's really silly. But listen, WWE, if nothing else, when they produced WrestleMania, they really showed that when they can take things into post-production and they can really jazz things up and and put all the filters and all the things on it in post-production, that things turn out really well. So like I said, on its face, it sounds pretty silly. I don't know who the participants are as of yet, but it seems like if WWE can sprinkle the magic that they had from WrestleMania, this can probably be just as entertaining, as a one-off type thing. And I mean, who knows? Maybe somebody who's driving down 95 looks up and be like, "What is going on there at Titan Tower?
That's not social distancing.
What is going on there?"
I'm just hoping no one falls off the roof. That's all I'm hoping for.
Oh, come on, Vic. That's 5 stars.
Oh, maybe someone should.
That's how you get 5
if they can
stars.
find a way to do that safely, that should have been. That'd be crazy. Someone jump off the roof.
Mm-mm.
The Young Bucks are doing it.
No, sorry.
Okay, well, here's my first concern. As far as I can tell, no one has been announced from NXT, so I guess NXT is either not participating or they just haven't announced it. And when they showed the graphic, there were only 6 people in the graphic. So, and 3 from Raw, 3 from SmackDown. So that bothered me a little bit, but it's okay. So for the men's Money in the Bank, we got Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, Apollo Crews, Drew Gulak, and Baron Corbin. Lou, I see you thinking over there.
I'm thinking, wow. Here's the reason why I'm thinking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, man, it's like when I see it on its face, the person who's going to right now, if those are the 6 guys in it and those are the players, Baron Corbin's going to win. Because here's the thing, right? You look at Rey Mysterio. Listen, Rey Mysterio is one of my favorites. I love Rey Mysterio, but he is the world's the world's best babyface, and both champions are both babyface. So Rey Mysterio is not going to be challenging. Drew Gulak, he's too low on the card. That's not, he's not there yet. Daniel Bryan might be, might be a dark horse, but it's kind of the same situation. He's a beloved babyface, and you don't want to give the incorrect rub on the other side for the champions. Mm-hmm. Then we have Corbin. Then you have Apollo Crews and Aleister Black. Both guys are on the come up, but neither one are ready for that top spot yet. They haven't been presented as such, so they're not ready for it. So realistically, it's going to be an entertaining match, but in the end, it's kind of like, if those are the 6 guys, then on its face, that Corbin's going over. So, and again, WWE has put a lot of stock in Baron Corbin. I'm not as really big into Corbin, just because of the fact that as the guy that does, for like money matches, I don't think that he's necessarily that guy. He's more for, to get good heat on a baby face and shine him up. But he's not a guy that if I see Baron Corbin in the main event wrestling for the world title, I'm not really enticed to drop my money and see that match. And that's with all due respect to Corbin, because he works really, really hard and he's very good. But I just don't see him in that spot. I don't see him as being a top guy right now. And if they're going, and the thing is, if the WWE is serious about putting Corbin in that spot, at some point you're going to have to pull a trigger and you're going to have to put the title on him. You're going to have to do it at some point. Because he can't.
I thought he would have won it a while ago.
He can't be a bridesmaid forever. If you're going to keep doing it, keep teasing it, at some point you're going to have to pull the trigger.
Yeah, well, looking at this lineup, it almost makes you wish that Corbin won his match at Mania. Maybe he'd have a little steam behind him going into this.
Yeah.
But to me, realistically, I wouldn't mind. Daniel Bryan being around the title picture or finding ways to get him in. I'm always okay with that, as long as you have a good matchup. Whenever this is going to happen, eventually, if he was to become champion, you got a good idea lined up down the road. Because remember, Lou, I know that right now we have babyface champions, but they don't have to cash in for a year. They don't have to cash in on the babyface champion.
I guess, but the one thing about it is, with a guy like Daniel Bryan, and I say this, and this is not to be disrespectful to Sami Zayn, Nakamura, or Cesaro, but neither one of those 3 guys have really been presented as like top flight stars. They've been middle of the card guys, and Daniel Bryan has been perpetually kind of in the middle for a little while now. And again, this is where, I keep sounding like a broken record when I say this. If you're at the top of the card or you're at the very bottom, those are great indicators as to, what you're doing right or wrong. But when you're in the middle, a guy like Daniel Bryan, there's nothing that he needs to work on. The man's wrestling skill is excellent. He found his character. He's got the charisma going. He's got everything. It's just a matter that if you're going to do it and you're going to commit to putting him in the top of the card, you meaning WWE has to find a way to truly commit and keep him there and keep him strong even in losses. And again, when he worked with Bray Wyatt, you can say, oh, he was wrestling for the world title against Bray Wyatt. At the Fiend character, and I always keep saying that as much as I love the Fiend character, I just hated him being the champion, just because I thought that a character like that never needed to be world champion. It's actually counterproductive for his character to be the champion. So even for Daniel Bryan, you could have inserted anybody in that spot. It just so happened to be Daniel Bryan because they use that as a way to change his look and do all that stuff. But in all honesty, I would not have a problem with Daniel Bryan winning the match. It's just a matter of, okay, how do you, that's a story that you would have to tell for a while, and then you have to commit, and then it almost seems like it's either he's going to cash in on a heel champion or whatnot, but it's a story that's already been told before, because it wouldn't be the first time that Bryan's won the Money in the Bank match, so that's the reason why I'm thinking that Corbin would win, because he hasn't had it before. And he could be like I said, he draws tremendous heat. It's just a matter that if WWE is going to put that spot on him, they're going to have to commit, and they're going to have to put the title on him, and they're going to have to allow him to be champion for, I'm not going to say a significant amount of time, but a substantial enough amount of time that once the title's taken off of him, he's not wrestling Elias anymore. With all due respect to Elias, but you get the pictures that Corbin's going to be higher up on the card. Very consistently, not being up and down and moved around depending on who he's working with.
Yeah, I think Daniel and Corbin are the obvious ones here, but I like Alistair as a dark horse. He's been building up a ton of momentum lately, and maybe not over the course of the next 3 or 4 months, but 6 to 8 months as he continues to build. I can see them putting the belt on him, or maybe even in a year or so. The concern is, what do you do? The dude is incredible. The fans love him. They're on his side. I mean, is Braun going to lose the belt to Bray? Because I like Alistair and Bray. That I would love to see, but when do we see that? It's a little too soon. You got to save that for when the crowd is back in the arena. So it's a lot of things up in the air, but I do like Alistair. But I agree with Lou. Corbin would be the one to take it, especially in this gimmicky kind of match. Corbin would be the perfect person as an annoying heel to have the briefcase, but they've teased it for so long, and then they drop him down the card, and then he's got dog food all over him. So yeah, but I like Alistair.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think when you use the Money in the Bank, you either give it based on the list that they've given me right here. Corbin is the only one that makes sense because I want to see a heel with. It always works better with a heel.
Yeah.
It's always kind of like it falls short when they're the baby face. He goes, okay, I'm a baby face, so I can't cash in when you least expect it. So I'm gonna challenge you at SummerSlam or whatever the hell, and it always falls flat for me. I think people like cash in after somebody's gotten their ass beat. So Corbin makes the most sense, but I think they're probably making a mistake by doing it, but I think they're gonna give it to Aleister Black only because he has a huge upside. I know he has been presented super strong. I don't even think he's lost.
Only to AJ, I think, when they jumped him, whatever that was.
Yeah,
I know when he first came up, he had those matches against Buddy Murphy that were it was weird because they actually got both guys over, but in two completely different ways. It got Aleister Black over in the conventional, hey, he won all the matches kind of thing, and conventional wrestling wisdom tells you that the guy that wins is the guy they're pushing. But with Buddy Murphy, then he joined with Seth Rollins in the AOP, and he got tremendous momentum. I actually thought that Buddy Murphy came out looking better on the other side initially, because even in defeat, he got the chance to really display his skills in a way that I think that most people, the way that WWE has presented Aleister Black, they've always presented him as strong, especially in NXT. There was never a point where they ever presented him as weak. He was always presented very strongly. I think with Buddy Murphy, the fact that he was in a tag team for a while, and then when he went as a singles, he went to 205 Live, that doesn't get as many eyeballs. I think that people may have overlooked him initially, and I think that those matches against Aleister Black really helped him arrive, I guess, to the main audience. And then when they paired him up with Seth Rollins in the AOP, that just brought him to another level. With Aleister Black, they had to work a little bit more because with Aleister Black, with Aleister Black, you have to work a little bit more in terms of just having him win matches. He's been presented very well. He's been winning. And again, I always said that with WrestleMania, I was always a little upset at the way that the match came through, because they're trying to protect Bobby Lashley in a situation where, you can easily tell that story 100 different ways. You have to make Aleister Black look a little stronger, because then he'll win. That seemed like the biggest win that he had against like the biggest named star, even though Bobby Lashley's been presented as a mid-card guy since he's come back. But it's still an impressive win for Aleister Black. I don't see him winning the Money in the Bank right now, just because I don't think that they have any real story. I think that they're just, for lack of a better term, I think that they're introducing him, having him win matches, but I don't think that he's working a program with anybody or has an issue, that's based on more than just one match. So it seems, I don't think that he would be the best positioned guy. If you really wanted to surprise somebody, you'd have Apollo Crews win if you really wanted to go for that shock. It almost looked like the whole Jinder Mahal thing where he spent, 2 years, losing, and then all of a sudden he wins 3 matches and he's the WWE champion. So if you wanted to do that, I don't think they will. This is just going to be a match to showcase Apollo Crews. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that they're doing it because, man, what a tremendous talent, and he just hasn't been used to his potential. So I'm happy that WWE is, no matter what the situation or what the circumstances are, they're giving him an opportunity to shine. And this might be a make or break moment for him. So I'm really hoping for him that he really, that he brings the goods, because I know he's got them.
Are these the names they really want, though?
This
Probably
could be a
not,
case
right?
of them not having all of their talent.
This is who's available, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Based
man.
on the names, it could definitely be. Look, this is who we have available. This is not the names I would have chose. But it's funny that you mentioned Buddy Murphy. That's exactly, before I knew any names, that's exactly who I wanted to win it. Or I wanted him and Seth in the match together, and Seth kind of bully his way over Buddy. So like, hey, Buddy, it's not your turn yet. I got this. Take the Money in the Bank from Buddy. I wanted Buddy Murphy to win the Money in the Bank this year.
Well, I think that would have been very good, because you can tell a lot of stories there. Because the thing is with Seth Rollins, he's not going to be in that match because he's already got the title match against McIntyre in that same show. So
yeah, this is before I knew about the title.
Yeah, there's no.
I didn't want Seth going after Drew this fast either.
Well,
even though we made a video and we were talking about who should Drew fight, and I said the only person the only obvious choice is Seth. I just don't want it to happen so soon.
And that's
I like what they did with the Big Show, bringing a believable threat, but who we know is not gonna necessarily win, but you can stall a little bit.
The problem was that WWE they told that entire story in one match. They could have what they could have done is they could have had Show be available for the Raw after WrestleMania, and then make the challenge. And literally the Show didn't have to cut a promo and do all this other stuff he did. He could have just easily went in there, shook McIntyre's hand like he's congratulating him, pull him in, goozle him, boom. Or he could have just pulled him in, hit him with the right hand, knock him out. That's the setup. And then you could tell that story for a couple weeks, have Drew go over, and then have McIntyre. What they're doing is that they're utilizing Andrade, which I don't think he was the right guy to lose, because Andrade being, I think he's the U.S. champion. It's like, again, I understand that those are the available talents they have. It's just a matter that it seemed like McIntyre got over a little too strong, and they told the story about the fact that when Drew was the NXT champion and Andrade beat him for him and he got hurt. And I was like, that's great, but that was a match that happened 3 years earlier and no one ever talked about it till then. So you didn't highlight the match. You never showed snippets of the match. So for the general audience on Monday Night Raw, that's probably something that's in one ear and out the other. But if you're an NXT watcher, you probably remember it. I know I did, and I kind of smirked and said, okay, this match makes sense. But for the larger general audience, they don't remember that match. So if you're gonna make mention of it in commentary, they should have probably done a package, because WWE does such a great job with it. Just take snippets of that match, show Andrade beating him, and then it kind of explains the story as to why maybe McIntyre might have a little more juice in him for that bout.
Yeah, I mean, Andrade is one of the guys who doesn't look bad right now. I don't like him going out there and getting completely destroyed in a 3-on-1 essentially.
Exactly, and listen, Connie
destroyed all 3 of them.
And Connie Zelina's 4-on-1. I mean, I know McIntyre's not going to pop her, but
hey, she can hit that hurricanrana that I look forward to every match.
Listen, she's just as involved as the other 3 guys. So
absolutely,
so it's it's essentially 4 against 1, and it's like, where do you go from there?
Look, you could have put all 3 of those guys in this match, and that would have been a more interesting story than what we might have.
I would, what the thing about it is, I wouldn't necessarily want Andrade in the match, only because him being the U.S. champion, you want stories focused around the belt. So I wouldn't want to put him in this match. I would have probably put Austin Theory in the match just because I think that his presence alone would be entertaining. Garza too. It's just a matter that I don't know if I'd want to have both of those guys in there, because if the thing about it is that when you have essentially a tag team and they're both in the match, it almost lends itself to one turning on the other. And the thing about it is those guys have only been tag teaming for 20 minutes, so it's not the right story to tell. You can have one of those guys in the match, but not both. You pick whichever one. Either one is fine. You can't go wrong with either guy. It's just it's unfortunate you couldn't have both of them in it, but it's just the story. The story could get a little muddled because there's only 6 people in the match.
Well, yeah, but that group should have been represented.
Oh, I agree.
Along with Buddy, in my opinion. Chris, is there anybody that you wanted to see in this match? You're disappointed, maybe? Or do you have a better way to book this? Who did you want to win the Money in the Bank?
Somebody that's not on it.
No, it could be somebody who's on it. If they got the right people, they got the right people.
It's hard to say because a lot of people are missing. I mean, I wouldn't want to revisit Seth again. It'd be perfect if Daniel was healed, though. If Daniel was healed from a couple years back, this would be great.
Daniel from a couple years back would have been good. It's like, if I'm booking this match, I want people who I think might actually win it. And it's just sad. I do think Alistair can win it because I do think they see him as a big future star, whether he wins it or not.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, hey, they put it on Sandow. Let's not forget how they put Money in the Bank in the past. They are not afraid to put it on a young up and comer.
I mean, listen, when they put it on Sandow, just remember something. when they put it on Sandow, it wasn't necessarily that they were ready to pull the trigger on him. I think that the story that WWE was ready to tell is they wanted to have the first person cash in and lose, and I think that may have been the story.
So. I think maybe.
I'm just saying
because I feel like
the first one who lost.
Very high on him, and then they gave up and changed their mind quickly. That's what it felt like.
I like Elias a lot. If he's gonna beat Corbin, he should be in this match, especially at WrestleMania. I like Elias.
Why is Corbin?
I really like Elias. The only thing is Elias is face now, whatever. But he's a great heel too. With the guitar, Money in the Bank, I think that's awesome when the crowd comes back. I would like that. Or even Vic has been begging for this for a long time. Somebody like Big E, like I would like that. Just the idea of having the New Day with a Money in the Bank, I think that would be fun. But yeah, I like Elias.
All right, so for the women, we have Asuka, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler. This is a little bit more interesting than the guys.
Yes, it is.
This is much more interesting.
This is much more interesting. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so who you got?
I've been loving the ladies for a long time now. I think the ladies killed the guys on WrestleMania, destroyed them. I thought the ladies' matches were all awesome. I hated most of the guys' matches. Not hated, but
strongly disliked. Strongly disliked.
I was a little disappointed with most of the matches. I thought the ladies were great. But I think out of the list, there's got to be either one of these ladies. It's got to be Shayna or Asuka. One of them, preferably Shayna, because of what they did to her at WrestleMania, and I think she'd be perfect with it. I would love her to tease all 3 champions, just show up, mess with everyone's head, back to NXT, mess with Bayley, just scare everyone, be this menacing figure. I would love for her to have it.
Any ideas, Lou? Well, my first idea for this match, let me tell you what it is. I say we take Nia, right? We take her costume, her hair, her weave, we give it all to Natty. let Natty dress up as Nia and work the match for her. That's the first thing we need to happen.
That's horrible, man.
After that,
Horrible.
this is an awesome lineup because
Mhm.
Sasha has a reason to win, right? Although I don't think she needs it because that story writes itself with or without Money in the Bank. But she'll do a great job with it. Nia can win and she'll probably do a good job with it, but I'm just sick of her. Shayna definitely is probably the favorite to win, and I think that's probably who's gonna win legitimately. But me personally, I want Asuka to win. She's the most entertaining female on the roster as of late. She's also probably the best worker, and she probably needs it the most. Shayna and Becky already have a feud. Sasha and Bailey have a storyline going, and we know where it's gonna go. Asuka needs it the most. Asuka will have the most fun with it. She's the most entertaining. To me, she deserves it the most. I know they're gonna give it to Shayna. I personally would want Asuka, and I kind of don't have any problem with the way they structured this. Although in a perfect world, I would have wanted Rhea Ripley here so that she could win it and cash in on Charlotte and redeem that bullshit WrestleMania finish.
Now here's where Rhea Ripley can come into the match. With all due respect to Dana Brooke.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
I
I'm
totally
happy
forgot
for her.
you
I'm happy
mentioned.
for her.
Hold on.
I'm happy for her.
Listen. I'm happy for her too. She's in the same. She's kind of like in the same boat where where I mentioned about Buddy Murphy. The thing is with Dana Brooke is that Dana Brooke has just been start and stop, and it's been mostly stop because it's just for some reason it's just she hasn't really connected, and I think WWE is trying to feature her as much as they can. Do I think that if you could, that's a spot that you can fill with a number of other talents, and that's with all due respect to Dana Brooke. It's just she's always been presented as an underneath talent. To have her in the match, it's good because it's showing a certain level of progress and she's coming up. Now, in a match like this, it's funny because this whole lineup, when you take a look at it, every single person could have a purpose to win and has a built-in story already in there. So you can come up with reasons for every single woman in this match to win. The most obvious choice seems to be Shayna Baszler, although I don't necessarily, I would prefer her not doing it that way because I think that they should kind of tell the story of her just basically taking everybody's lunch in individual matches and beating all these women on this list and everybody else in the locker room one by one in singles matches. Only because in a multi-person match like this, you can win, but how can I put this in a way that it almost seems like in a match like this, people don't necessarily get over the same way they would if they beat somebody emphatically one-on-one or you do it in a string of matches. This is a feature match that can help a talent that is already, that is ready for that next step. Shayna Baszler's only been on, I hate saying the main roster because NXT is part of the main roster, but she's been on the Raw brand now.
They're not treated like the main roster.
Yeah, but
no matches out at Mania except one, right?
Yeah, I got you. I understand.
They're not booked on Money in the Bank.
But here's the thing. With all in all honesty, the retort to that is the reason why a lot of the NXT matches aren't booked on like WrestleMania or SummerSlam or anything like that is because they have their own separate event the day before. So that's really why, because they have the NXT takeover events, and that's a money grab for WWE. So they're not about to lose money on that to include those matches in already a show that's already packed and already paid for. So that's the reason why.
I get that, but when this first happened, they did away with the takeovers for a little bit, and then they were like, "We're gonna make this a legitimate brand. They're gonna be part of the pay-per-views," and then really quickly they were like, "Forget it."
About that.
Yeah, I mean, listen. All I know is that from the perspective of Shayna Baszler, she's only been on main brand TV on Monday Night Raw for the better part of 2 months maybe. So it feels like her story is nowhere near complete. And putting the Money in the Bank on her, obviously you're placing the target and saying she's the one. And guess what? Whenever she shows up and she cashes in, she's winning. That's just, she's a heel. She could walk, she could walk in. And the thing is, with somebody like Shayna Baszler, she doesn't have to do the heelish thing and show up after the babyface champion just finished defending her title and is weak. She could just show up before the match even starts, give the briefcase to the referee, ring the bell, and I could still believe her beating.
That'll be cool too.
I could believe her doing that, because you want to present her as a badass. It's like, yep, the championship match is about to start, and her music plays. She shows up and hands the briefcase to the referee. Here we go, ring it. I'm in the match now. So, part of me, the thing is, part of me would. I always thought that for Sasha Banks, it would probably work for her as well, because even though Sasha's always been presented very strong, but over the last year or so, due to injuries and things of that nature, she hasn't been, I guess, featured as strongly as a wrestler. She's been more of the corner person and help, being a heater for Bayley, but not necessarily getting that briefcase. And the thing is that if she were to get the briefcase, it'd be an interesting story, because obviously Bayley's like, hey, you're my best friend, you're not chasing after me. And she'd be like, no, I got you. And obviously you can tease that story.
Mhm.
The thing is with Asuka is that I don't know that Asuka is going to win the title, or excuse me, not the title, win the Money in the Bank, only because I think that I don't want to say the word rehab, but in kind of repositioning her as a singles, she needs to have a rival to go after. And I think that what's going to end up happening here is that somewhere along the line here, two of these talents are going to cancel each other out. And I think that what most likely might happen, knowing that Asuka and Nia Jax are on the Raw brand, is that they're going to cancel each other out in this match, and then that's going to be the series of matches we're going to see for a little while. And if they book Asuka to win and beats Nia Jax, then you start repositioning her now as, a potential number one contender. And then she could go after the, Becky Lynch's title without the Money in the Bank, carrot to dangle. With Dana Brooke, obviously if Dana Brooke was to win, this is, no disrespect, I call this the Jinder Mahal theory, where you get somebody, an underneath talent that's always been positioned that way, and now, she wins 2 matches and she could potentially be the women's champion. So I don't think it'll happen. Realistically, if Rhea Ripley wanted to be in this match and she needed to do something underhanded, like if somebody needed to be accidentally on purpose put down
They can
for
also
her to
just
be in the match,
they can also just have Lacey Evans work a match with Nia Jax.
well, the thing
Oh,
is,
no.
the thing is that
or
with
Dana
Lacey
Brooke
Evans,
work a match with Nia Jax, and you'll get both of them out of there.
well, listen, Lacey Evans is not going anywhere. Lacey Evans is positioned
No.
very strongly on WWE TV, and she's not. She's going to be in this match because it's going to be good storytelling for her and Sasha Banks, because the whole storytelling thing with Bayley. Realistically, I keep saying, and I've said it before, is that Lacey Evans will be the SmackDown Women's Champion sometime in 2020. But the road to getting there, I'm not sure how it's going to pan out. I don't think she'll win the briefcase, because that's not, it may not be the most conducive for her. I think obviously the obvious choice seems to be Shayna Baszler, but if I had to have my druthers, I would say Sasha Banks, only because she would probably need, it would be very interesting, because there's a lot of storylines that you can put with her. And the thing is that with Bayley being the champion on SmackDown, Becky Lynch being the champion on Raw, and Charlotte Flair being the NXT, the champion on NXT, Sasha Banks has worked fantastic matches with all 3 of them. And no matter how you wanna move the pieces, you're going to have a money match with her there. Versus with Shayna Baszler, even though Shayna Baszler is being positioned as the badass, sometimes I could be a little skeptical about whether or not the actual bell-to-bell stuff will be as good as the hype of the match would be.
Yeah, I'm the names. I'm ready to see it just off the names alone.
Mm-hmm.
What concerns me is that I'd take some of these no slight at the men, but I take some of the talent on the ladies' side a bit more seriously than the guys on the men's side, because some of those guys I think fit more in this gimmicky match when you think of Corbin, Gulak, or what have you. Whereas these ladies, I think, would be better served in a ring in a more traditional sort of match. So that concerns me, how they would work through this building ladder, what have you. I'm sure they'll do great, but the gimmick itself concerns me a little bit.
Well, I think they can. I think they'll do okay. Um, it is tough because, like I said, Naya is not necessarily a great worker in my opinion, but she's a great base, and I'm sure she could catch all these girls off the ladder. Um, Sasha to me is a great worker. Lacey has gotten so much better. Shayna's a great worker. Asuka's a great worker. Dana's not necessarily a great worker, although I do think this match is set up for her to shine, not to win. It's set up to elevate her and for her to look good. I expect her to have a Kofi Kingston moment. She's gonna backflip off a ladder or do something cool, and we're gonna be talking about Dana. Hopefully she gets it right and she has her moment. Um, what I would say about the girls and all, like it's crazy to me. I don't know if this is the old man doesn't pay attention to the women as much. These women are not necessarily damaged goods. So many guys are cold, ice cold, that I'm like, that's it. I don't want to see this guy ever again. These women are pretty strong. Like that, to me, a lot of them are believable. If Lacey would have won the title within the year, I'd believe it. If Sasha, Naya, Shayna, Asuka, I'd believe it. I'd go for it. These guys, I don't believe any of them winning, except for Dan, like winning a title legitimately. Let's put the belt on them in 2020. The only person I'd put a belt on here is Daniel Bryan.
I agree.
Even Ray, I wouldn't do it.
No, I mean, I wouldn't even put it on Daniel Bryan. For me, it's a matter of, again, if Baron Corbin is your heater, for lack of a better term, if he's your best everyday working heel, again, if you're going to position him to be the bridesmaid all the time, to work against the big guys but always lose, at some point, if you're going to position him in this match, and let's say realistically that he'll win, then you got to put the belt on him. And the thing about it is that with all the women in the match, the reason why the women's match seems so much more interesting, gimmick or no gimmick at all, the reason why is because you realistically can see either one of these women winning. And like I said, probably with the exception of Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is not going to win this match, but she will be made to look good. And that's the whole intention of the match for her. But the other 5 women in the match can all legitimately win, and no one, depending on how it's booked, no one's gonna feel bad about it, no matter how it's done. On the men's side, the issue with it is that you have 6 participants in it, and you have 4 underneath guys. With the exception of Daniel Bryan and Baron Corbin, the other 4 guys have been positioned as underneath. Rey Mysterio, with all due respect to him, because I love Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio is more like he's more like the legend player. He's like the legend in the match. Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio. Probably for the excitement of this match, I would have probably swapped him out for Jeff Hardy, just because Jeff Hardy is like that's his thing, that's his gimmick. So that you're going to get some crazy spots with a guy like Jeff Hardy in the match. But if he's not available, and like I said, I love Ray, but he's not winning. Gulak is not winning. Aleister Black is not winning. Apollo Crews is not winning. Daniel Bryan, maybe. So that leaves you with Corbin. That's the thing, is like you have, if you position these guys better and you tell their stories over over several months, this is a part of WWE's storytelling, to where they kind of like write week to week instead of writing, and obviously if we were in normal times, that Money in the Bank match would look a whole lot different. I don't think those 6 guys would be in the match. You might have Brian in there. You might have you may have Corbin and maybe one other guy. They're probably an Apollo Crews or Aleister Black for like the cool spot moments. But I don't think that those guys would, that group of six, they wouldn't be the group of six. The six women in the match for the Money in the Bank on the women's side, even if it was regular times or in COVID times, that group of six would be perfectly fine and no one would bat an eye. So
Yeah, with
tells
the
you
guys
what-
that are available, I mean, heading into Money in the Bank, the four possible champions, whether the champ retains or the champ loses, I don't see any of these guys other than Daniel facing any of those guys at a pay-per-view. No, no one's going to be interested in that, unfortunately. No
No.
slight at the other guys, but
and
no
and
one's invested in that.
And here's the thing with a guy like Corbin, if let's say that Corbin wins, realistically, the guy he can beat, just he could take the belt off of Strowman, and cheat Strowman. Because like I said, with Bray Wyatt again, they can tell the storylines of wanting to put him because he's a marquee guy to the fans of the WWE. But putting the belt on him is just it's not a good. They shouldn't do that. Because here's the thing: if Strowman drops the belt to a Baron Corbin under less than fair circumstances, when Roman Reigns is ready to return, you already got you got your built-in main event already there. Because Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin have worked a zillion times, and people might roll their eyes and be like, "Oh my God, another we're going to do this again." And I said, "Yeah, there's a different caveat now. Corbin's the champion." And hopefully then you can start building Corbin up to where, when he works against Roman Reigns, he's not going to he's not going to drop the title the very first match. There's you got to build this up a little bit because, it's a matter of stretching it out, but it's also giving Corbin a long enough reign, and that he can look strong enough that then once he drops the title to whomever he drops it to, he'll be ready to be in. He may not be the main event, but he can always be the semi-main event. And then a guy like that, you make him strong, and then all the guys underneath, you can start lifting them up to where when you see like the Aleister Blacks or the Apollo Crews or the Gulaks, Daniel Bryan's. Even Daniel Bryan doesn't qualify in that spot because he's already a main eventer. But all those other guys underneath, they can work with Corbin and have great matches, and they can do kind of like a 60-40, 50-50, whatever they want to do type booking, but make the guys look strong. And then they've created more stars. They create more guys, to potentially build up. So if you want Baron Corbin to kind of be that guy, at some point you have to commit, and this might be the time to do it.
And luckily, we know that there's no way in hell that this thing will be cashed in over the next few months without a crowd. So that's one thing that we have to look forward to, is that someone's going to retain this thing for a long time.
Yeah, there's no rule that says you have to cash this in immediately. Even as soon as the fans come back, they can cash the shit in at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Based on the amount of work they're gonna have to do to get people invested in either Corbin or maybe Aleister. Yeah, it's gonna take a long time. But I do think that Corbin, based on who they gave us, Corbin should win because he can cheat someone out of their title, and I'm fine with that. A lot of any of the women can win. I don't necessarily want Shayna to win, and I'll tell you why. When you have to take advantage in wrestling, especially when every time you lose a little bit of steam, especially in WWE. If you lose clean, you lose a little bit of steam. You can always get it back, but you only got but so many losses in you. Before the fans start to give up, and they're like, well, forget it. We don't believe in you anymore. And a character like Shayna, she really can't lose anymore. But losing in a Money in the Bank match, you are not being pinned. You're not being submitted. Right? You could put in a crazy effort. Everyone looks great. Money in the Bank, you have a great performance, you look great, even if you don't win. The person who gets the briefcase, they're a bigger winner, but there's not really a clear loser in a Money in the Bank unless you look like you look like garbage. That's the only way you're gonna lose in the Money. You have to take advantage of this. We know Shayna can't lose. We know Aleister can't lose. They can't get pinned. I would take advantage. I would not let them win. this is a good way to get a loss on Shayna without giving her a loss. Put it on somebody else, whether it's Sasha or Asuka. It'll probably be Sasha. I think Shayna's gonna win, but I would probably put it on Sasha or Asuka. And I would take advantage of the situation. Shayna could lose, Aleister could lose, and it won't hurt them. And I would take advantage of that.
No, I mean, and the thing about it is that even the one loss that Shayna Baszler got at, realistically, like the only defeats that Shayna Baszler has had that has looked legitimate were the ones that she had to Rhea Ripley, when she lost the cage match to her in that the War Games match, and then when she lost the women's title to Rhea Ripley. Those are the only two losses on TV. Once she became established. I mean, she had other losses in between. The one that she had to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, again, the loss didn't hurt her. It's just the fact that the match was booked to be more 50-50 than it needed to be. It was booked too close to 50-50, which made her look like she lost, versus if she would have had, like, let's say a 70-30 match where Becky was really fighting from underneath the entire time, and then she just got a quick win. It can look like Becky escaped with the title and not necessarily won the match. So that's the reason why that match kind of hurt, took a little steam off of her. But yeah, I agree with you. You're not going to beat Shayna Baszler right now in her run on Monday Night Raw. You're certainly not going to beat her. And again, you're right. In a Money in the Bank match, it doesn't matter, because technically nobody's beating you. It's just who got to the briefcase first. So that's the reason why I'm saying that in a match like this, people don't necessarily go over. You don't get over the same way just because it's all about the gimmick of the match. It has nothing to do with the performances or, who goes over, who does what. It's just a matter that it's the gimmick of the match. It's not intended for anybody to go over super strong. So in this particular case, you're right. Shayna does not need to win the briefcase. I think that she can, that she can have you can write her in the championship matches, 100 other ways. And again, I realistically think it's going to be Sasha Banks, just because I think that knowing who the champions are and all the history and all the tie-ins there's like a zillion different ways to move the pieces around.
All right, cool. So I don't even want to talk about Seth and Drew McIntyre. I don't really necessarily care about it. I think it's too soon. I think Drew should win fairly easily, which makes that's why I don't know why we're doing this, because there's really no story to be told. And for me, I guess you can have Seth lose but piss Drew off even more. I don't know. Whatever.
No, I mean this is the thing about it. This is the reason why with the booking at WrestleMania when Seth Rollins beat Kevin Owens, I didn't like it for this reason. Obviously, Samoa Joe is not available because he's not medically cleared to compete. But it would have made a lot of sense to have Seth Rollins win at WrestleMania, continue that storyline with Kevin Owens to where you have another built-in storyline, and Rollins can say, hey, I want to go after Drew McIntyre and the title. Samoa Joe is his muscle. And then Kevin Owens can be like, in the background. So you have more stories to tell. I think when they seem like they wrap that story up, but it almost seems like, okay, we don't have anything now for Seth except going after the title. And again, I agree with you. It's too soon. This is a match that, yes, we're supposed to get this match, but, it could wait until, the summer or the fall. To have Drew, work with other guys, win some matches, establish his reign as champion, and then bring Seth Rollins in with, the possibility of having Buddy Murphy if the AOP are back from injury. And then let's say that Samoa Joe is now, part of his crew. You're like, whoa, this looks kind of insurmountable. And then it's like you got to get other guys. Drew McIntyre could have Kevin Owens on his team, and then you have other guys built in. You could tell those stories. That's an easy Survivor Series 5-on-5 match. You tell that story. There's so much that they can do. It's just a matter of layering it right. And I think that by having Kevin Owens go over on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, it seemed like to tie that story up, and there's no real loop to bring it back. So
this should probably be KO in this match getting screwed by Seth to protect everybody. It should probably be that. Or KO should be in the Money in the Bank match just coming off of that win alone. I'm sure he's probably not available. But that's one guy that, now that you mention it, that's missing from this entire event.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in the men's Money in the Bank match, I mean, I think that we all agree that it's not necessarily a matter that this is the best group of 6. This is just the best available group that we have at the moment. Because if we had a full, if you had the full locker room available, I could easily say that half the guys that are in that match wouldn't be in it. Especially with only 6 slots. Drew Gulak is not in that match. Rey Mysterio's not in that match. Apollo Crews is not in that match. You can always, for Corbin and Daniel Bryan, yes. You can make room for Aleister Black because they're building him up. He'd be a maybe. I'd put him in there just because they've been doing good with good by him in terms of pushing him to wins. But like I said, Mysterio, Gulak, and Cruz, they wouldn't be in that match if they had their full allotment of talents. And that's no knock on them. It's just a matter that you just have so many other names and faces that would be better served to tell that particular story, make the match a lot more. At least the match seemed to be closer. I don't want to say entertaining, but for the fans, you could say, "Ooh, any of these guys can win." In the men's match, it just you don't get that vibe. At least not with this group of 6.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm shocked that it's only 6 people. They could have easily had 3 from each brand, include NXT in this, and get 3 guys from NXT, knowing that the guys' match is probably not. There's really no buzz behind it.
Okay.
There's no star power, and they're wrestling in an entire building. They've had matches with 8 people multiple times. They've had matches with 7 people, 8 people. This is the perfect opportunity. There will never be a better opportunity to have 9 people, or even 8 if you want to do just 2 NXT people. That's fine too.
Okay, so
if you want to shit on NXT a little bit, whatever.
Okay, here's my question to you. Which players from NXT would you include in this match?
I'd be excited to see a lot of them, more than a lot of these guys.
Give me your names.
Keith Lee, probably Velveteen, probably Matt Riddle,
Finn,
Ciampa. There's so many guys that have some believable steam behind them in NXT that even if they're not going to win, they don't have to win. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you lose, but just to add some excitement and some, oh shit. And they're more believable than these guys. Keith Lee being in this match is believable because, first of all, everybody knows that, they value him because we've seen him like at the Rumble face off against Brock for 10 seconds, but those 10 seconds were amazing, It showed, somebody backstage likes Keith Lee.
I think Keith Lee got over big at the Survivor Series, in that match with in that Survivor Series tag match where he worked with Roman Reigns. I think that was a big moment for him, much bigger than the Royal Rumble, just because the fact
Keith
that
Lee had a nice like a couple weeks, right? Like, or a week.
I think with Keith Lee right now on NXT, he's been, he's kind of cooled off a little bit, but definitely he would, I would not have a problem with Keith Lee being in this match. I would probably have Keith Lee. I don't necessarily know if I'd want to put Finn Balor just because of the fact that the way that they're positioning him as a tweener, you may want to keep him on NXT and just kind of keep him there and then get the match with Walter and Imperium and kind of get that out of the way. I would probably be good with the combination of either Keith Lee and Ciampa or Velveteen Dream not so much because he would be able to cut some really cool promos, but knowing that he's in the NXT Championship picture, I don't necessarily know if I'd want him in the match. If he were not in the championship picture right now and Adam Cole would be working with somebody else, then I'd be okay with Dream being in the match because that would be his reason to want to get at Adam Cole. If he can get the briefcase, he's got a reason to fight Cole. But the fact that he's doing it already without it doesn't make any sense. But certainly Keith Lee, I would be totally cool having him in the match just to be a big dude that can be able to be a base for people and do some really cool stuff. So yeah. And I think it would raise his profile significantly being the North American champion. if he's able to hang in a Money in the Bank match against like the top stars of Raw and SmackDown, it's only going to elevate him and make the title more important on NXT.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when you book these matches, you have enough people on the roster. If you like using all three brands, there's enough people, believable people that
More than enough.
believe, right? Even a hardcore fan, we might know a little bit more, and we might have, a little bit better instinct for who's gonna be the next champ. There's some people that you just know are gonna be future champs, or we can feel it based on booking or the way they're handled. And there's some people you just know that there's no way in hell. And there's too many no way in hells in this match right now. Anyway, so what about Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt? What would you do? What do you think?
I wouldn't have this match
Me
anytime
neither.
soon, unfortunately.
No,
I
sir.
want to see it, but no time soon.
I personally don't really care to see it, only because of the fact that, again, Bray Wyatt is, the Fiend, Bray Wyatt is such a special character that the less is more with him. And with Braun Strowman, he basically won the championship as, it's just a means of like, okay, Roman's not available, Goldberg is not going to work any more dates for us, so here you go. I mean, it's just with Braun Strowman, you're going to have to work to establish him as the champion, and you got to have him work with other guys. So in all honesty, no. This is a matchup that the Fiend, if you want to tell this story the way that it probably should happen, is I don't mind seeing the Fiend against Braun Strowman, but the championship needs to be, the Universal title has to be nowhere near this match, meaning that Bray Wyatt can act like Freddy Krueger, and just kind of be all up in Braun's head and doing all these funky things, essentially costing him the title, even though he probably in the end will put the mandible claw on him and knock him out, and then whoever he's working 1, 2, 3 takes the title off of him, and you can tell the story. But to have it be a championship match, absolutely not. That just, I don't know, that story again. When Bray Wyatt was the Universal Champion, I understand why they put the belt on him, because he was the hottest guy in the company. But it's not, again, his character is something that's so special that to put the title on him, again, it's counterproductive for his character. Most other guys putting the championship on them when they're hot is the exact right thing to do. The thing is, with a guy like Bray Wyatt, it's actually the opposite. Less of him, keep him special. And if you want to have him work with guys, it's got to be a psychological, torment getting to the match. It can't be just, oh, I show up and, you do the Firefly Funhouse and boom, the match gets booked. It can't be that. It can't be that quick and that simple. It's got to take more time. And, you got to give Strowman more of a reason, because Strowman as the champion just saying, "Ooh, I want to go to the Firefly Funhouse." I'm like, yeah, so what? You're acting like a tough dude, which I know you are, but the way that you've been booked has been so up and down. It's like, either we got to give you a strong enough reason for this match to make sense, and to just do it just to have a title match, no, not at
It's
all.
unfortunate, because who loses this match? Both guys can't afford to lose this match.
That's the problem.
With the belt in play.
Both guys literally cannot lose. First of all, no one, let me not say no one, but a lot of people are not even happy that Braun is champ. I don't think people believe that reign. Like you said, this is Reigns wasn't there, and Goldberg didn't resign. So we have to put it on Braun. It's the best idea we got. And he was not hot when he won the title, which is the worst way to win the title. Like, no one
This
really
is them
cares
owing him.
No one cares about you. You should have won it 2 years ago. Now no one cares, and now you win it. And then they again are booking themselves into a corner. Why do you book this match? You don't have to book this match. You can book any match that you want. Why do you book this shit? It doesn't make any sense. You already had Bray as your champ. You gave Bray the belt too early. You should have told us more about this character. You should have taught us more. We should have learned how he wins, how he loses. But the way you built him up, he should never lose. So if you're going to put the belt on him, he can't lose for 2 or 3 years. Fuck that up. You have him lose a goddamn match that he should have not lost. Now he's in a position where he might have to lose another match to someone who's not even hot. How are they going to get out of this? I mean, I know there's creative ways to get out of this. Maybe this match ends, or maybe the men's Money in the Bank starts to show and maybe this goes towards the end of the show, and maybe someone cashes in and steals
Oh God,
the
no.
belt from
Please
Braun
no.
before the match even starts. I don't know.
Please no.
They need to book. They need to find a creative way to get out of this match,
The way,
and they need to
the
do
way,
it
the way,
fast.
the way that you do it. This is the way that you do it. Listen, the way that this match probably has to be done. If you got to book it, it's got to be booked as a no contest. All right.
Yes.
It almost has to look like the Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania, except that it's not filmed or produced that way, because that looked like you had to be high on LSD to have enjoyed that match, because it was
I did enjoy that match.
well, okay, good for you.
I was high on LSD. I was high on LSD too.
But because I mean, listen, they had some cool elements to the match, but at the end of the day, again, I'll say the same thing I said.
It wasn't a match.
But but that's the problem. That's the problem, because you see,
It wasn't a match.
it wasn't a match. And the
But
thing
it was
is
to me, it was a great experience.
okay, that's fine. I can take it at that. It wasn't a wrestling match, so it was.
No, it wasn't a match.
So the thing is that it didn't do the one thing that it was intended to do, and that's to actually have Bray Wyatt beat John Cena. Again, when we said that there are 3 wins that Bray Wyatt needs to get: John Cena, Goldberg, Undertaker. It doesn't have.
Not one.
The first 2 don't necessarily have to be in that order, but the third one, the Undertaker, would probably be the one to solidify it. And unfortunately, what they did was with John Cena is that they found the best way to beat Cena without beating him, and that's just like not having a match and doing whatever it was that they did, which was, like I said, it was fun to watch, but whatever, it wasn't a wrestling match. With this one, it's just like, dude, Braun Strowman, the only thing colder than him is is a frozen block of meat. So it's just like you can't book this match right away. What you have to do is make it a psychological thing, make it look like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and continue having the Fiend messing with Braun Strowman's head, but they never touch. It's not they don't need to do that. I think that they're kind of putting the cart again before the horse, and God forbid that if let's say that Baron Corbin wins the Money in the Bank match and he cashes in on the same show. I'm like, dude, you've just blown probably 3 months of TV all in one show, unnecessarily.
Not only that, everyone is screwed, and then you have Baron Corbin as champion. With Reigns, we all know that he's the one that's gonna eventually win that belt. We're gonna get Corbin against Reigns again.
You see?
Oh, thank you.
That match would make sense if Roman Reigns was currently the champion against Bray Wyatt. That would make sense. That match would make more sense because Roman Reigns is hot, and you can tell a lot of stories there, a lot of stories. And Bray Wyatt can lose to Roman Reigns and not lose steam if they tell the story right.